Hello, viewers. Welcome back to another episode of Katsata. And today we have for you Brent Sadler, Senior Research Fellow, Naval Warfare and Advanced Technology at Center for National Defense at the Heritage Foundation. Mr. Sadler, I know you have a wide purview and an illustrious naval experience of 26 years and more. We would like to gather some of your wisdom on the partnership of Quad, a mini-lateral to say of Japan, US, India, and Australia, and also AUKUS, a trilateral strategic trilateral of Australia, UK, and the US, and their partnership in the Indo-Pacific region. Over to you.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me, and good evening to everyone. The AUKUS, which is Australia, UK, and US, trilateral information and collaboration, primarily to develop a nuclear submarine program indigenous to Australia, on its surface doesn't seem to be too directly connected to the Quad. But at a strategic level, they're clearly driven by the same concern, the same national interest that all four parties share, and that is a concern with China's growing militarism and adventurism across the Indo-Pacific. And so that's a common thread there. The other thing that's common, I would say, or at least where there may be a bridge between what happens in AUKUS and perhaps impacting on the Quad, is where there may be some utility to India's national security. A stronger Australian naval presence in the Indo-Pacific certainly makes the Quad much more balanced. Seems less that it's overwhelmingly a US and secondarily a Japanese organization, but one more balanced between the national interest, most importantly, of India. And I think at the end of the day, where I have the most challenging time here in Washington, D.C., is trying to explain the actions that India takes, which are always based in India's best national interest. And sometimes that confounds folks here in D.C. that wonder why there's not more of action against, say, Russia for ideological reasons or moralistic reasons. But really, at the end of the day, the Quad and AUKUS are held together and may increasingly be aligned mutually based on hardcore, real national interest for security in the Indo-Pacific.
So that's brilliant. And also, if you can give a little more in-depth analysis, because I know you were there during the formation of marine domain awareness of the ASEAN, and bringing in ASEAN in this Indo-Pacific region along on one side Quad and AUKUS analysis on this.
Absolutely. So, spent a fair amount of time in Southeast Asia, and definitely have a deep appreciation for the situation that many Southeast Asian nations find themselves, drawn to the economic realities of trade with China, but also increasingly with South Asia, India, most notably. And the United States still remains a significant economic partner, but the biggest change and the biggest adjustment still remains China. So they have that on one side. The other side of the equation is how to secure their very lucrative maritime rights in the South China Sea and their sovereignty. And they're not willing to cede any of that, but at the same time, they need the economics. So it's a complex balancing equation that, quite frankly, Southeast nations have been very adept at doing. And where the Quad and AUKUS kind of fit into this is that the same dynamic with India's role in the Quad is it makes the region look much more balanced. With a rapidly militarizing and rapidly growing Chinese military presence, it has unstabled or destabilized the region. And the region is right now reacting. It's not just the US, it's much broader than that. So ASEAN is a key part of this rebalancing that's going on across the Indo-Pacific. And it's important that countries like India and the United States always be very conscious, much like the United States has to be conscious of India's national interest, that it's a mosaic and no two countries in the 10 ASEAN countries share the same domestic political dynamics, nor the same national interest. So it's complex, and it's never going to be a smooth sailing, so to speak, but it's the reality that I think we all are in. ASEAN is clearly recognized in Washington, D.C. as pivotal. How we actually execute that diplomacy, sometimes it's a little rougher than it should be.
Thank you for in-depth analysis, and we all are aware about the gray zone tactics and what is a black swan in this Indo-Pacific region. Thank you again for your time and deeply in-depth analysis. Thank you, viewers. Keep tuned for more such videos only on Cuts.